So you want to buy a home in North Carolina, and at this point, you're just confused on where do I need to start? I mean, who do I need to talk to? How do I view homes? And what do I need to do as a buyer? Well, before we get into all those questions, let's start off with an introduction. I'm Jose Jr. with the LZ Real Estate team at Remax Elite Realty Group. And in this video, I'll be taking you through the 10-step plan I use to get everyone from the initial appointment all the way to the closing table, otherwise known as the purchasing pathway. Our initial appointment will take about 30 to 45 minutes long, and it's really to determine your needs and wants as a buyer. We'll get to know a lot about you, and then hopefully you'll get to know a lot about us as well. We'll also be going over the Working with Real Estate Agents disclosure, which we actually did a video on, and it's floating somewhere on this side of the screen at this point. In step 2, we'll be determining your purchasing parameters, which really, there's 3 major categories that you need to look at when we're actually looking at finding homes. And that being location, price, and style and condition. With location, we'll talk about things like, does it need to be in a specific city, specific neighborhood, or a certain distance from your work or any other amenities. With price, we'll be looking at how much do you want to spend a month. Also, how much you want to spend overall on your home. And then also with style and condition, that's going to fall into the category of like square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, if you want a 2-car garage or a 1-car garage, or any other specific details about the home will fall under that category. We actually have a buyer's questionnaire form that we use to get you through this process, which right here, a 5-page form, you fill this out either in person or online, and then from there, we can discuss further your wants and needs as a buyer and then get you set up to see some listings. In the previous step, as part of your purchasing parameters, we talked about the price category, and you may have already set your price. But what we need to do at this step is actually acquire a proof of funds letter saying that you've got the cash to purchase your home, or a pre-approval letter saying that you have a mortgage and you want to be able to finance a home. It's important to try to get a pre-approval or a proof of funds letter as soon as possible. You don't want to be out viewing homes, submitting offers, but without either of those things, because what will happen is they won't end up taking your offer seriously, and then by the time you get one, you might end up losing out on the home. If you're financing, you don't want to be looking at homes, all of a sudden you get pre-approved and you find out that you're looking at homes that are way above your price point. No matter which way you go, be sure to talk to a mortgage lender about getting a pre-approval letter, or if you're using cash, talk to your bank manager. They'll be able to get you a proof of funds letter. Now that we've got our initial steps done, we can actually get out there and start viewing homes. And I like to think of home viewing as a process of elimination rather than a process of selection. You see, it's really easy to find all the things that you do like in a home, but as we start eliminating things, I can start narrowing down our search. So if you tell me that, for example, I don't want any homes that are more than 3,000 heated square feet, well, I'm not going to show you any homes that are above that. Or if you want to say, I don't want homes that have only 2 bedrooms. It needs to have at least 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. By eliminating what you don't like, we'll get you closer and closer to what you do like. That way, eventually, we'll find the home that you absolutely love. And as we're out there viewing homes, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. I'm going to ask you to think about what you like about the home, what you don't like about the home, and if you can see yourself and your furniture inside. And if the answer to that last question is a definite no, then you know we definitely need to move on. So in the process of viewing homes, whether it's the first home or the 40th home, you finally decided, I absolutely love this one and I want to make an offer. Great. At this point, we're going to head back to the office and we're going to talk through a couple things. Well, one of them being the offer documents, but also the terms of our offer. We're going to send you out a sample copy of these offer documents in advance. That way you can already have been through them. But even if you didn't, we'll still go through them together. That way you're understanding exactly what you're going to get into. Just as a side note, North Carolina is a buyer beware state, and homes are sold and purchased as is. So anything not negotiated in the contract or in writing does not exist. Upon the seller receiving our offer and then sending us a signed copy back with their signatures and initials, we're officially under contract. And with that, any due diligence fee or earnest money deposit that was negotiated upfront is due at that time. Probably wondering what's a due diligence fee and an earnest money deposit. To break it down simply, the key words and where they differ is actually in the words fee and deposit. See, the due diligence fee is paid directly to the seller. It's typically non-refundable, whereas the earnest money deposit is paid to the escrow agent within 3 days of the contract, and it typically is refundable as long as you terminate the contract within the due diligence period, which we'll go over as we explain the contract to you. Now understand, the due diligence fee and the earnest money deposit, they're negotiated amounts. There's no set fee for either of those things, but those are used to help bolster your negotiating position. And like I said before, the due diligence fee is due at the time of the contract, whereas the earnest money deposit is due about 3 days from then. One last thing about the due diligence fee and earnest money deposit, those two items are actually credited back towards you at the end of the closing. So as long as you close on your house, the due diligence fee and the earnest money deposit get credited back towards you and can help contribute to your closing costs or even the sales price of your home. In step 7, we have your home inspections. Now, in the state of North Carolina, you're not legally required to get any inspections at all. However, if you're about to purchase a home, I would highly encourage that you do, because all homes are man-made, and whether it's new construction or a resale, you want to be sure you know what's going on behind the walls to make sure that anything that you need to discover about the home is said up front, and you don't find out later on down the line, once the home is actually yours, that the HVAC was failing all along and you didn't know it. So we have a list of vendors that we use, and honestly, for the most part, I would recommend at least a home inspection. If your home also has a septic tank, I would recommend a home and a septic inspection. Any other inspections that need to be done after that would be recommended by the inspector, and then we have people that can take care of that as those come up. In step 8, we're going to talk about the final walkthrough. Now this is skipping ahead way along in the contract, and usually this is going to happen either the night before or the morning of the closing. And basically what's going to happen at the final walkthrough is we want to make sure that the home is in as good of or even better condition than when we first saw it. So if we see the house the first time, everything looks immaculate, spotless, and then we come in for the final walkthrough and all of a sudden all the doors are missing their handles and then there's shattered glass everywhere, well, clearly you don't want to close on a home that looks worse than when you saw it. So what will happen is, as we take a walk through, we'll have the home inspection report in our hands. That way we can take a look at these items as we come across them. And again, we want to make sure the house is in as good of or even better condition than when we first saw it. So long as everything went well at the final walkthrough, what will happen next is that we'll head off to the attorney's office to execute on the closing documents. Now, at this step, it's a little bit different between financing and cash. So let me break it down. Let's say that you got a mortgage. What will happen is, once you arrive, you'll sign off on your documents at the attorney's office. The attorney will then forward them to your lender. The lender's going to verify all the signatures to make sure everything is correct, and if it is, they'll send it back to the attorney and release the funding. The attorney will then send all the documents to the local courthouse, and once it records at the local courthouse, the house is officially yours. Now, this process takes about 30 minutes to sign, and then another couple hours to actually record at the courthouse. If we're a cash sale, it's actually a bit of a shorter process because you won't have to worry about the verification process with the lender. What will happen is, you'll still show up at the attorney's office, that way you can sign off on your closing documents, but rather than the lender releasing the funds, you'll end up cutting a cashier's check or a wire transfer to the attorney, that way the seller gets paid. Meanwhile, the attorney's still going to record your documents at the local courthouse, and then once the house is recorded, it's officially yours. The process can take about, again, 30 minutes to sign and maybe a couple hours to get the house in recording. In step 10, we have home delivery, in which all we're going to do is meet you at the home and hand you your keys directly, because officially you're the new homeowner. And that's our 10-step plan to get you from the initial appointment all the way through the closing table. If you had any questions at all, leave a comment down below and be sure to share this video with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way, you're aware anytime we release a new video. As always, I'm Jose Jr. and I'll see you in the next video.